millions of people, black people, died, either enslaved or because they were enslaved or killed. We were a slave country for 100 years longer than we have now the country free of slaves. This is not a thing that happened 150 years ago. This is a thing that happened for 250 years in America, right? And there's death, there's torture, there's terror. There's also 250 years of millions of people giving labor for which they were never compensated. It made America a rich country, and it made people in America very rich. And even if you're descended from somebody who was not a slave owner, the whole society benefited. If I was rich, I could build a school. I could build a hospital. I could donate to the local cultural institutions and events. Everybody, other than the slaves, benefited.
Yes, clearly slavery is the original sin of America, and it did occur for a couple of hundred years, and it caused horrific harm. But it still was 150 years ago.
People keep saying it was 150 years ago. No, it didn't. We kept a kind of quasi-slavery long after actual slavery was eliminated. We built into the 13th Amendment the clause that says you cannot be forced to give involuntary labor unless you are convicted of a crime, which is a backdoor that allowed southern states to basically accuse black people, even children, of all sorts of crimes, and to put them in a system that we'll call convict leasing, where they would lease out these bodies, again, free labor, to farmers, to industry, to anybody. This happened until the 1930s. It allowed Reconstruction to fail. And right after it did, states, starting with Mississippi in 1890, rush in, call constitutional conventions, and they are not shy about it at all. They say, we are here to white supremacy into the DNA of these states. And those laws exist until the 1960s. The idea that we're just talking about chattel slavery is false. The idea that all of the injury was happened 150 years ago is false. We have to get our heads around what we did and how much we benefited from that, and how much of those tax dollars that we had that black people were paying in the system were not being used for them at all. Their schools were underfunded. Their neighborhoods were I grew up in one of these segregated neighborhoods. I watched my neighbor's house burn down because there was one fire hydrant in the entire black neighborhood, and by the time they got that water from that fire hydrant, that house had burned to the ground.